Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have Ryan Dayton with us from Paranormal Theory. We're going to talk to him about some of the places that they have investigated, a couple other episodes they have on PARAFlixx. You can also see some of their stuff over on YouTube. Um, they did the Warren Occult Museum. I am very interested in talking to him about that, and we will do that very soon. Good evening, Jason. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, man?
So I clicked in as you were taking a drink. It's like,
Yep, no worries.
How's your week been?
Busy but good, going quick, so I'll take it.
Busy and going good. You know, we did, I think we told everyone last week we were doing an investigation Sunday night. We did that. And then drove home from Denver at the wee early hours of the morning, and I was toast and done and ready to be in my bed.
Yep. Yeah, I think I ended up going to bed about 6:30 a.m. that
Yeah, at
morning.
that
So
point, I'd already been in bed 2 hours.
yep, I had to wind down from the night. That was an amazing location that we hit. It was really
It was a
cool.
very cool place. It'll be in season 2. Um, you know, we're getting ready to do some short stuff that we'll be able to post out there on YouTube for everyone to see. In July, we have turned a vacation Gina and I were going to take into, hey guys, do you want to go? And Jason and his wife and Michelle and her boyfriend are going to be coming. So we have a couple of new small cameras that we can hopefully get some shorts out there, and y'all can see what we're doing while we're on vacation too.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I haven't made it out east in God since like '08, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it's only been a few years that I was back there, but man, I love that place. When someone asks your favorite place, that's right now, that's my favorite
That's
place.
it. Yeah.
You know, spending 3 nights, 4 or 5 hours a night in the battlefields, it's such a cool place.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait to get out there with you guys and do that. So, um, Skeptic Night this weekend. We are holding that Skeptic Night at the Knights of Pythias. Tickets are still available. We're going to do an investigation, and then we'll have a good discussion afterwards about what happened. Maybe some skeptics have something that we're not looking at, or you know, we can show them something that we see.
Yeah, I think it'll be a cool opportunity for some good conversation. Obviously, we do the podcast. We love talking paranormal more than a lot of people. So, the opportunity to talk to more people about it and get their perspective, I think, is going to be really fun. So,
Yeah, I'd love to have someone explain how a growl happens.
yes. Yeah. Yep. Especially one that originates from in the room where you're standing. Didn't come
Yeah,
from above. There's no pipes around. Yeah, any of that stuff. It's like,
yeah.
how'd that
Hopefully, we
happen,
get
man? That
something
was
like that.
trippy. Yep.
So for that, we did have a post out on the Way Out West page. Like, share, and tag some people, and we'll give away 2 tickets. So we do have that right here. I'm going to get over to that page. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on there. I'm going to click shuffle one more time and then spin this, and we're going to see who's going to win those 2 tickets. Albert T. So I'm pretty sure Gina's probably watching. If she isn't, I will get that information to her, and we will let Albert know that he will have 2 tickets waiting for him, and we'll see what happens from there.
Sweet. Yeah. So we'll be seeing Albert and hopefully his friend or somebody come and have some fun Saturday night.
Yeah. Tonight, Ryan Dayton from Paranormal Theory. Super excited to talk to him. I know they've been doing some stuff for a while. Him and his partner Nick get out there and investigate some cool places. Tons of stuff on YouTube. You know, the one that sticks out to me is the Warren Occult Museum.
Yeah, such a cool place. I love occult museums. You know, I've done the one in Vegas, and you know that one stuck with me. Few of the exhibits they have, but you know the Warrens have been or had been putting this stuff together, you know, for years, and really curated a cool collection. It's one of my goals to get out there and see it one of these days.
I agree. So let's not waste any more time, and we'll bring Ryan in.
Cool.
How we doing, gentlemen?
Hey Ryan, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Good.
Doing well. So I was excited when I messaged you and you were like, yeah, I'd love to come on. Watching some of you guys' stuff, you and Nick, you get out there and hit some really cool places. I think you guys kind of investigate the way we do. You go in and just kind of start up and get what you get.
Yeah, we don't really have like a game plan. It's more of just I like to start out with minimal equipment, especially at first, and just walk around and explore. And like, okay, let's see, you know, what place is working. And sometimes that's when we've had our best evidences, when we're not really like actively investigating. And I'm sure anyone who investigates would understand what I mean by that. I swear they know when you're not filming. So that's why we have a rule that the cameras stay on until we're in the truck and driving out of there.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
So,
it always seems like when we're sitting around as a group bullshitting, laughing, joking, you know, that's when some crazy stuff always seems to kick off.
Yep.
What made you want to investigate the paranormal?
So I had an experience when I was a child at the old Fort Mifflin. My parents took me, my brother, and a friend at that time to the fort. You can just walk around and explore it. So we were down in one of the bunkers, and it's underground and all that kind of stuff. And my brother, you know, he's being a little kid. And he's like, you know, if this is real, like do something, that kind of thing. And there was a broom in the the back corner, and the broom was lifted up and then thrown into the middle of the room. So
okay. Yep.
we ran out, scared the crap out of us. But ever since that moment, I was like, I remember getting home being like, okay, that logically didn't make sense to me, but why did that happen? Like, how did that happen? A lot of those kind of questions. And the same with Nick. Nick's story is kind of similar. And we're just very intrigued with it. We were actually, Nick and I have been best friends for a while, and we were working at the Penhurst Asylum. And one day we were just like, you know, it would be a really cool idea, like if we just like taped our investigations and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, that would be a pretty cool idea. It wasn't until a couple of years later when we live in New Jersey, and I wanted to get involved in investigating. And I messaged a pretty well-known team in our area, and I was like, hey, like, do you have any leads of maybe teams that are looking for like new people or anything like that? And I was met with a message that said, you don't do what we do. You know, we're experienced and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, out of pettiness, basically, I'm like, hey, Nick, I'm like, we're going to do this ourselves. I'm like, I don't need to find a team. Like, me, you, and my sister.
There you go.
That's how it started. And now it's, you know, coming up on, it's been a little over a year now that we've been at it. And we have the TV show PARAFlixx, and coming up on 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, monetized. That's and all awesome, that. Man. So
nice.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that was, you know, Gina and I had been doing stuff for about 10 years. I proposed to her. Everyone's probably heard I proposed to her on a ghost tour in Prescott, Arizona. We came back. We realized we liked it. We like to travel. So we started investigating, her and I. And then after a trip to Gettysburg, I was like, man, I want to get some people together that are like-minded.
Mhm.
And we did. And then we found Jason, and, I was like, hey, I'd like to do a podcast. He's like, I've always wanted to do a podcast. So here we are.
Yep.
It's good to have those friends and those like-minded people. And, our team has now become family to us, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you definitely have a more wholesome story than I do, where mine was really started out of pettiness and someone saying that I can't do something.
Yep.
But I've actually done a lot of things in my life
We've been there.
from being told that I couldn't do something. And I mean,
Absolutely.
we're still now told. I don't think that ever changes. There's always people like that. But I've always used that personally as a tool to keep going when things get tough. And as you guys know, in the content world, that it's not always easy. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of the times, you put hours into, your baby essentially. And like a video could bomb or something. We've had it happen plenty of times where it's like, I've spent 35 to 40 hours of computer time on this video, and like the algorithm doesn't pick it up for whatever reason. And then there's videos where I get it done in 15 hours and I'm like, I don't really like it. And then it does great.
And that's the one that picks up. Yep.
Yeah, I think our most watched video is from the White Hill Mansion. It's at like, I think 18,000 views right now.
Very nice.
It's a super old video. I look back at it now and I'm like, this is terrible. Like the editing's really bad, but people loved it. So I'm like, okay, well.
I want to try to tell this guy, he does
Yep.
a lot of the editing, and I'm like, man, this is great. He's like, I don't know.
Not good enough.
As
Never good enough, man.
Jason, I'll tell you one thing. Once I edit something, I never go back and watch it ever again. I don't like watching my own videos.
Yep, I'm the same way.
Because as you know, as a fellow editor, you are your own worst enemy.
Yep.
And you are going to nitpick the littlest things that a person who doesn't edit and is just taking it in as a consumer,
yep,
is not going to know.
Yeah, they don't miss that, or they miss that, transition, right? That I goof that transition a little bit, right? And then that'll stick with you for the rest of, the other 45 minutes of the video. That's good, and they didn't even notice. And
there'll be a little bit of a like camera shake, and you're like, I probably should have tried to edit that out, but I don't think people really care that much. It's just the editor mindset.
It is. Yep. Absolutely.
So I try to stay away from my stuff once it's out. Let the people enjoy it. I've seen enough of it. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that feeling too.
Before we came on air, these guys were camera talking, and I was over Facebooking. I'm like, yeah, okay. Y'all talk cameras. Yep. Just put it in my hand and I can film, and we're good to go. And
yep. Yep. I say, hey, push these buttons, do this. Sweet. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, that's what I tell Nick. I'm like, it's running. Don't touch anything.
Right. Yeah.
Point and shoot, buddy. Point and shoot.
That's it, man.
Go. All right. So you decided to investigate because you got into something young, and you've done some really cool places. What are some of I've seen the Manor, and I've seen the Occult Museum, but what are some of the other cool places you've done?
So the ones that really stick out to me, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
That place, I mean, I can take as many pictures, I can take as many videos as possible. There's hundreds or thousands of videos from that place, and it does not do justice to what it looks like in person. Like when you pull up into that driveway and you see that massive building, like this Gothic structure, and there's that big like bell tower looking thing on like the center. I did not think it looked like that in person. And I'm not a person who's ever really intimidated by a look of a building, but that was one of those buildings where I'm like, we're about to be in there by ourselves, which is like, it's a scary building, a beautiful building, but it's a scary building. And,
very intimidating. Yeah,
it is. And if you are not in shape, you're going to be huffing, because Nick and I had to go to the 4th floor when we first started the video, and from like one end to the other, it's on the very end where we were going, and up the four stories or whatever, and then all the way down. And by the time we got to the thing in the video, if you watch it and pay attention to it, we're talking, and it's like like we are really out of shape. So Trans-Allegheny was really cool. We did Old Hospital and College Hill, Sweet Spring Sanatorium. And it's kind of funny. Our most active places have actually been the smaller, less well-known places. Like take Trans-Allegheny, for example, to kind of compare it to like the White Hill Mansion. I think what it really has to do with is basically at those smaller places, when something happens, you're kind of near it, where you could have something happen at Trans-Allegheny and you would never know.
You'd have no idea. Yeah.
No.
Wow.
So yeah, and then obviously like the Warren Occult Museum. That's as big as like my bedroom basically, but I think it's probably the most haunted, location in the entire country.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty cool looking place. It's in the basement of their house or something, isn't it?
No, so
Okay.
it's a separate structure.
Okay.
So you have the main house, which is where Ed and Lorraine lived. Like that was their private residence, and it's in their backyard, and it looks like a garage basically, where you open up a door and then it's like, what is this?
Wow. I know you guys saw a lot of stuff there. What was one of the coolest things that you saw there?
Oh man. I mean, are we talking like experiences or items?
Item wise, what was the one item that sticks out to you?
I mean, obviously if we're talking about the museum, Annabelle comes to mind.
Right.
She's a lot bigger in person. You would think that a Raggedy Ann doll is not that big, but I swear, like if she was standing up, she's like 4 feet tall. That's a pretty big Raggedy Ann doll. But probably the item that stuck out for me would have been, I think, the satanic idol, the Sandy Hook idol.
Mm-hmm.
That
thing's
weird
creepy,
story,
man.
Yeah.
It is a very weird story, and it has its own, I guess you could say personality or like vibe. There's so many. There's the shadow doll. There's the Devil Made Me Do It dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
The one where the family said the dinosaur was like walking on the floor and a voice coming from it was like, "You're all gonna die." And then, if you watched any of the Devil Made Me Do It, that's what that was based off of, was that because people are like, oh well, the item is the demon or whatever, and it's not the item that was the demon. The demon was using the item as a vessel.
Yep.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get that mixed up, especially I heard you, Aaron, were talking about something about with a skeptic or something, and there's a lot of skepticism around the items in the museum, and that's perfectly fine. Like we need skeptics in the field, but every time they talk about it, I always hear them say like, "How can a doll be like a demon?" And it's like, no, you're not understanding the concept.
Yeah.
Behind it.
The ground didn't open up and this Raggedy Ann doll crawled
No.
out. This was something, just a tangible item that exists that was used, like you said, as a vessel or a conduit. Yeah,
it's just the items are just the vessel that the entity uses. So that was cool. They had the house key from the Amityville Horror.
Oh.
That was really cool to see. Oh, you know what? Here's an item that I kind of kicked myself for not doing. I didn't get a lot of camera time with it, but it was the African fertility dolls.
Oh yeah.
And the
Oh, the
story
ones,
goes is they were
yeah.
stolen from a witch doctor. And if you touch them, apparently, like you won't be fertile anymore. So it's the complete opposite of what you think they would be when you
Right.
hear a fertility doll. But that kind of like voodoo and stuff, man, it gives off a completely different vibe than anything else in that museum.
I'm
And it was
sure.
probably one of the things I was most freaked out by.
You had quite the experience there.
Yeah, I did.
We don't want to, we can talk about it a little bit. I don't want to give it away. I want people to go watch, but you ended up having to walk out of the building.
Yeah, so I don't remember doing that.
Wow.
And that's kind of what makes this story a little crazy. But basically, the spark notes of what happened was Nick and I met Annabelle before that. We met her originally at a Paracon that that NESPR, New England Society for Psychic Research. That's who owns the items now. Tony Spira is married to Lorraine's daughter, and Ed was training Tony and all that kind of stuff. And when Ed and Lorraine passed away, Tony was put in charge of taking care of that museum and all the items in it. So they brought him to a Paracon, and people are always like, well, if the items are that dangerous, why are they bringing them out in public? But they don't realize how much work is put into those items before they're even brought out into the public. And you can't really get, like, you can't touch them. You can't get that close.
Right.
But they're blessed. They have a priest there in case anything ever happens. And we met Annabelle there. And Nick and I were kind of like staring at her, and we're like, we don't really feel anything. Like, this is kind of weird. I'm like, it's cool to see that this is like the infamous doll and all that. But then we got over to the, and this was at the Paracon. We got over to the Sandy Hook, the satanic idol. And Nick was kind of standing off to my side, and I was just staring at it. And it was weird. It was like I couldn't look away. And it got to the point where Nick and Rob from Get Haunted had to grab me, and they're like, hey, like, we're leaving. Like, stop doing that. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? And they're like, it was just the way you were looking at that thing. Like, don't look at it like that. And I'm like, I don't know what I was doing wrong. I couldn't look away from this thing, and it was super weird. I didn't think about it too much. So we get the opportunity to go film at the museum. And it's, like I said, at Ed and Lorraine's house. And it was the coolest thing, because I remember when we first started, Nick and I joked, we're like, you know, how cool would it be to like go to the Warren Occult Museum with the items? And we're thinking, we're like, nah, never. And then we're sitting there in their house, like having dinner at their table that they would sit at, and we're like, what is going on? Like, this
How
is
did
surreal.
this happen? Yep.
Yeah. So we did a live at the house that NESPR was doing, and then we were allowed into the museum. So we go in, and as soon as you walk in, it just feels like it's hard to breathe. It was a completely different feeling than the outside. And can that be you psyching yourself out because you know what you're walking into? Sure. A lot of the paranormal has to do with the psychology of it.
Yep.
So, you know, I kind of get like an anxiety feeling a little bit, and I'm like, okay, like, not thinking too much of it. And the room is, I want to say, I could be getting this wrong, but it's like a 16 by 16 foot, like, basically rectangle or a square. It's not big. I get over to Annabelle, and I've seen her before at this time. And I remember looking at her like in the eyes for about 2 seconds. I turn around, and I took 2 steps, and Wade, who is a part of NESPR, asked us So like, how do you feel? And as soon as he said that, I remember like my hands going completely numb, my feet going numb, and I just started getting tunnel vision.
Wow.
And I'm like, what is going on? So I try to take like a deep breath, and I couldn't. I felt like I like couldn't breathe. And then the next thing I know, I got Wade rubbing holy water on the back of my neck, and I'm outside. And I'm like, what the hell like is going on? And I'm explained to, and like, thank God that it's on video. It was actually doing a live, so like the video quality is like not that good. But Rob was filming it. They said that I basically like got like ghost white. My eyes like lost all the color, and it just turned like black. Basically, my face changed, and I didn't say anything. I just walked out of the room, and when I got outside, it looked like I was about to fall over, and they sat me down. And Wade was explaining, he's like, that was them like basically attacking you. He calls it like jumping, where they just suck your energy out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were by yourself, he's like, you would have collapsed. And by the time anyone got to you, you would have to go to the hospital and all that. And it was basically a scare tactic. And it just so happens that I was the only one without any kind of religious protection in the room and got affected. And I've always gone into places without any kind of protection and all that. And I was just
in the
like,
same way. Yep.
I don't anymore. I was given an item from Wade that was blessed that I take around to every location now. But yeah, that happened, and I was in front of Annabelle. And by the time I basically blacked out, I was standing in front of the satanic idol.
Wow.
In that corner. And it was super creepy because you guys know the boys from Overnight, like Elton and the Overnight channel?
Not familiar with them, no.
Well, the one guy who was on the channel before Corey had the exact same experience in the exact same part of the museum as I did, and I had no idea about this. And I was sent the video of when it happened to him, and it was like, if you put it side by side, it was the exact same.
Wow.
Jeez.
So just this psychic attack. And that's where, you know, and a lot of people say, oh, there's a demon. Oh, there's an evil presence here. Right. And I think that's the difference right there, is how quick, you know, that experience took you, or that attack, you know, affected you. Just that, you know, that pure evil presence was able to cause that much damage in that short a time, where you didn't even know where the hell you were standing. I mean, you know, I think that's the difference between just a pissed off spirit, right, moving shit around or growling, versus, you know, a true demonic entity.
Yeah, and you know, we're always careful when and I know we're YouTubers, and I've heard this plenty of times before, and they're like, you just use the demon word to say it and all that for like clicks and all that. The only time we ever use the word demon or demonic or any of that kind of stuff is when we're told about a location and that's already a well-known story. So as content creators, YouTubers, whatever you want to call us, our job is to tell a story.
Yep.
So if you're at the Warren Occult Museum, they have over 1,000 items that are demonic in this room.
In a 16 by 16 room.
Oh yeah.
Just stuffed full. You can see it watching your episode.
There's some I that is one video that I go back to watch. Just because there's so many items that I didn't even realize I was around until you go back and watch it.
Well, yeah, and how are you even going to find the time to cover, you know, all those items in there, right? You can't. You can't. And yeah, the two that have always stuck with me, I mean, like you said, everyone knows Annabelle, but for me, it's the shadow doll, the one that causes people's hearts to stop.
Yep.
And then the Sandy Hook idol was just, those are the two that, I've never even been there, just watching specials and whatnot. And even, through the TV, those are the ones that, kind of hit me the hardest is, wow, there's something to these.
Yeah. And like I said, people have the opportunity to see these items. I know they're doing, it's called the Devils on the Run tour. They're doing it this year. You would have to visit Nesper's site, either on their Facebook or website or whatever, and figure out the locations where the items are going to be. And I always tell people, do it if you have the opportunity, get to see these items, but just take notice of the feeling that you get around them, and then multiply that by like 50. And that is what the museum feels like, because
Wow.
the museum is like you're walking into their home now. And I was taught a lot of things from Wade of Nesper. And one thing he told me that always stuck out with me was, he's like, when we're talking about a true demonic entity, you have to remember that this is something that was never a human. It has never walked the earth, and it has been here a lot longer than we have, and it has the knowledge of the ages. So what he meant by that was, he knows this entity knows already what you're thinking, what you're going to do. It knows everything you did. And that is one way they can get to you, is they're going to prey on, your fears and your mind, basically.
Yep.
And that's what this thing was basically doing when I was in there. I still think it was Annabelle that did it. I've had people say, like, no, I think it was the idol, but there's 1,000 items in there. So it's almost impossible to really know what did it, but I can tell you it's the only time it's ever happened to me. But in a weird kind of messed up way, I'm kind of glad it did, because it gave me a whole different outlook on the paranormal and what is actually possible.
Yeah. How strong it can actually be.
Oh yeah.
So did you notice any kind of lingering effects, or, after getting the holy water put on you and kind of getting away from the area, was that kind of it?
So when I kind of came back to, and I never fell over, so I was kind of proud of myself in that aspect, was Wade said that I walked out, and he was like, that was so smart to do. And I told him, I'm like, I don't remember walking out. And he's like, your body was on like survival mode, like
Autopilot. Yep.
At that point, it was just like, I need to leave. And he's like, a lot of people won't leave. They'll kind of just, oh, I can fight this. And no, you can't.
Yeah, you're not going to win a psychic battle against something like that.
No. But I remember drinking the holy water, and I remember, this sounds crazy, but I remember it burning.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
After that happened, I drank some of the holy water. It like burned my throat, and I was given a blessed item, and I put it into my jacket pocket. So you'll see in the rest of the video that my hand is like in my jacket, because I'm holding it like up against
that
my
thing
heart.
close to your
heart.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah, that was creepy. And it was the only time that the thought in my mind, or my mind was basically saying, like, don't go back in there. Don't go back in there. And I remember kind of saying it out loud, and Wade's like, no, that's them. That's what they're doing. They don't want you to come in.
Yep.
And they're like, this is another tactic that they're using. They're trying to scare you. So ended up going back in, and I was fine after that, but it was because I had that item on me. But as for lasting effects, it was in Connecticut, so it was only like a 3.5 hour drive. We got home, and I slept for 24 hours.
Wow.
I did not wake up once, but my body was like completely shot. And a lot of people who know me say they have a hard time watching that video, because after it happens and we're actually filming and investigating, they're like, you don't look like yourself. Like your eyes are like different and your voice changed and everything. And it's super weird. So yeah, I'm just glad that, Wade was there to help me, when that happened.
Yeah. And that's something that stuck with me watching it. I'd watched it again today. I've watched it quite a few times, but one thing that's really impressive is how Wade was able to just handle the situation. There was
Right.
no panicking. There was
No.
no, like, you were in good hands. I think they've got a wonderful caretaker, or curator there,
Yep.
that knows how to take care of the people coming in. And that was something that stood out to me, was how impressive his just instant reaction to make sure, you were taken care of.
Yeah, Wade's great. He's become one of my probably in this field, he is my favorite person. I talk to him almost every week. He's always asking, like, how I'm doing, and he's helped us out virtually on investigations and everything. And it's kind of crazy because I'll call him. Like, I remember calling him one time at midnight, and he was like, "All right, I already know." He's like, "You came across something that is not human." And he's like, this is what happened. I'm like, how do you know that?
Wow.
But I don't know. I guess if you're around those items that are that strong, you become pretty good at knowing how to handle certain situations.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I was going to say, is imagine having to deal with that potential day in and day out. How prepared do you have to be and on your game every time you walk through that door, right?
You want to hear a funny story?
Absolutely.
And it's always the best when Nick tells it, but I'll try to do my best about telling the story. So, and it was something I kind of noticed when we first got there. This is my first time meeting Wade, and he's wearing it was kind of like a button-up shirt, kind of like yours, Aaron, and it had like that shirt pocket.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a lid right here. I'm like, he's got something in his shirt pocket. And I remember like talking about that. We go up into the upstairs to do the live. And as soon as we're about to go live, we started having all these electronic problems. And Wade goes, "Oh, it's them doing it again." And this man just reaches real quick into his shirt pocket. And Nick and I are just sitting there in this dark room. And he just goes like this. And it was holy water.
Oh,
it was
that
in like a
amazing.
squirt bottle. It just hits us right in the face, and we're like, "Oh." But as soon as he did it, everything like stopped. Like, it was fine.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
Jeez.
But he's just always at the ready with the holy water, and like you won't know it's about to happen, and you just like hit right in the eye
you're just
with it.
getting doused. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny, but it was just like how prepared he was. I'm like, all right, well, he knows better than I do. But I just remember that. It's a funny story.
That's that guy that you sent to me, Jason. I know you follow him. You talked about him last week or the week before, who has the holy water and the squirt pistols.
Yeah, he carries the squirt
holsters.
guns in the shoulder holsters. Oh my God, yeah, that cracks me up.
Yeah.
But hey, if it works, right?
Hey, and that's something we ran into this weekend. Like the monitor was going out, and my cameras were not seeing SD cards, and we've never had issues with that stuff.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
And that was really strange. I'll give a little bit on that. So Michelle was doing an Estes and kept saying she was feeling like she was being touched. And, so I just, I stepped up and I was like, hey, you don't have permission to touch her. She's already, working to communicate with you. And so if you can touch anybody, you can touch me. So every time after that, she said that she felt like she was being touched. The monitor on my camera would actually cut out. Never had any problems with this thing. And I've messed with it since, and I can't get it to cut out again. But every time the monitor would cut out, and then like 2 or 3 seconds later, she'd be like, "Oh, I feel like someone's tapping me on my back."
I just want to say I heard some weird beep while we were talking about this just now. I've been always wanting to acknowledge stuff, and I always forget. But while you were talking about that cutting out, there was a weird beep in the feed.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I didn't hear it either. So that was on your end.
Wow.
But yeah, it's crazy how they can affect that stuff. And we had a demon folklorist on a couple months ago that she said it's really common when she gets to certain parts of her presentations and whatnot going over these demons that it's almost without fail. Computers will start getting wonky, or projectors and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they don't want you to know really what they are. And there's a lot of times on just kind of my research into the darker side of the paranormal, if you will, that if you are dealing with a demonic entity, it's not going to tell you its name. It's not going to tell you it's a demon. And it's going to kind of going back to like our whole vessel thing, right? Like if you, Jason, I'm sure because you seem to be pretty up to date with the stories of the items, was how the Annabelle doll kind of came to be.
Yes.
Where it was pretending to be this little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it got its name. Annabelle was like through a psychic and all that, but it was the two nurses that owned the doll originally.
Yep.
But yeah, they'll pretend to be like these innocent things, and like who would have thought this Raggedy Ann doll would possibly be,
one of the most evil items on this planet. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and they'll lie, they'll trick, whatever they can to get into your lives, and then just drain you.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's kind of another thing that I always tell people about when they ask me. They're like, they'll take Annabelle again for an example. These things aren't going to do things on demand. So it's like you can come across this. And is it rare to come across a demonic entity? Yeah, it's very rare. But if you do come across something like this, you can't disprove it by saying like, okay, well, it's not doing it right now, or it didn't do it in a day. It works on its own time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it is going to get you when it wants to get you.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
we were kind of warned about that. We're like, they're like, the biggest thing here is like, you do not challenge it.
Right.
Because you are a human being. You are not as powerful as this thing.
Yep. You will lose.
Yeah. And there was plenty of stories where I think the one that kind of stood out with me was because originally Ed would have people come over to the museum, and they would pay like a small fee or whatever, and he would give a tour. And there was this couple, a young couple, that arrived on a motorcycle, and Ed's talking about Annabelle and all that. And this kid comes up to the glass, and he's like, "If you're real," he's like, "you'll scratch me right now." And he's banging on the glass. And Ed's like, "Son, I told you not to do this. You don't challenge this." And he's like, "This is a bunch of BS." And he's like, "See, it's not doing anything." Well, they get kicked out. Ed's like, "You got to leave." On the way home, they get into a motorcycle wreck. And the kid who was banging on the glass dies. And the girlfriend survived, and the girlfriend said the last thing they were talking about was laughing about the doll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that one. It's crazy.
She's done a bunch of things to people.
Yep.
So we're told you don't challenge it, and when you're in there, don't touch anything. And if you do touch something, let them know. So you're going in there, and it's kind of like they have lights in there, but it's kind of like dim. So I'm like super cautious. I'm like walking around with my camera, and I'm like walking like this. I'm like, do not bump into anything.
Don't bump a damn thing. Yep.
our friend Rob from Get Haunted, the first time that he was invited to the museum, he's told that like, do not touch anything. So he goes in, and it's like he took 5 steps and literally bumped into like a casket or something in there. And the story's the best, is the way he tells it. He's like, "Dude, I took 5 steps in there and bumped right into this like item." He's like starting to freak out. And they're like, "What'd you touch?" So I had that story in the back of my head walking in there. I'm like, all right, I'm not do not touch anything.
Right. Oh gosh.
See, and what amazes me is how strong, some of these presences are, because like you said, they take precautions with Annabelle, right? They have the salt that's been blessed at that church up in New York, that they put in there. And I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not. Did they actually surround her with church glass, that enclosure? Do you know?
When we were there, she was in a bigger case that if you look up an updated picture that she's in right now, but that isn't her original case. Her original case was to the left of her, but I know Dan Rivera built basically a new case for her and everything.
Oh, okay.
And all the items that Ed put in the case with her, like I think it was like a tarot card, and there was something, I think there's Bible scriptures that are put into the back of the case that are kind of like behind this little like wall. I could be mistaken. But yeah, I think what's in her original case now is the fire doll.
Oh, okay.
Which is another crazy item.
That one is, yeah.
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 But yeah, I didn't see any church glass when we were there.
Yeah, I know they had said it in the movie, and then I had heard it, I don't even remember where, that, yeah, they had built, it must have been the original one with some glass that was taken from a church that was being decommissioned or whatever.
I know they had the chair sitting there, because that's originally what she was placed on, was just a rocking chair.
Right.
And the rocking chair is next to the movie doll that Warner Brother used. So that was really cool to see. And like, that was like the only item they were like, you could touch that one. They're like, that one's just the movie one, the creepier looking one.
Right.
But yeah, like the rocking chair is just sitting out there in the open, and it's very easy to like bump into that chair. And I'm like, I'm going to stay away from that.
Yeah. Best keep distance. Yeah. But yeah, it's just amazing all the precautions that are in place, and she's still able to have that kind of effect on people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a priest comes there all the time and blesses that whole like museum.
Wow.
And it's still like that powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't imagine what it would be like if they basically just took these items and shut the door and just kind of kept them in there.
Yep. Or even, God forbid, the Warrens didn't have anybody designated as a curator, right? And they just kind of got spread back out into the world.
I know we were told originally when Ed was collecting these items, they were in like a car in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like there's like at their house, there's like a woods in the backyard, and there's an old vehicle back there, and they were like, yeah, that's where the items like used to just be placed, was in this car. And another like kind of cool story we were told is like, obviously they have to get these items around when they take them to these like Paracons and all that. So they rent like a Sprinter van kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
With like no windows, and they'll just pull up to a Wendy's, and there'll be people like parking right next to the Sprinter van, just like coming into Wendy's, and they're like, they have no idea what they just like are right next to.
Yep.
That makes me think that I'm going to start watching where I park.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Don't park next to any Sprinter vans.
Yeah. We'll get you a squirt gun with holy water, Aaron.
Revolver, please.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Six shooter.
Little 6-shooter. Yeah.
It's gotta be old Westy, Ryan, so besides your camera, which I know is probably your favorite piece of equipment, what's your next favorite piece of equipment to use when you go on an investigation?
Probably our newest piece of equipment here. And I just happen to have it sitting next to me. It has not been on, we haven't used it in a video yet, but we will be soon, is the DR60.
DR60.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is this actually I don't know if you can see it very well because of my camera, but this is the like OG Japanese version.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. That is like the recorder of the paranormal for everyone watching.
Yep.
That is like the Holy Grail paranormal recorder.
Yeah, and that's why it's in its little case right here, and
Nice.
doesn't leave my side because it's just as expensive as this camera, which is crazy.
I was going to say, is that why you messaged me? Hey, I have a music box for sale. Trying to
Yeah. I
some
gotta pay back my debt. No, but I'm very into, honestly, and I know it sounds cliche, is just letting your like body and your senses be your biggest tool.
Mm-hmm. I think that's most of us,
We have all the the cool beepy stuff like music box and Ovuluses and all that kind of stuff, and that stuff's cool for the entertainment aspect for the audience, because the audience likes things that light up and beep.
Yep.
But I just like being quiet and letting like the location kind of like talk for itself.
Yeah. And I think our first episode, we show about a minute where we're just kind of chilling and just getting, I think you said we're getting the vibe of the building, and that's really what it is. Going in and at the beginning, walk around, don't have anything out, just walk around, see how it's going, what it feels like.
Yeah, I think the REMs and all that, they're good to tell you, that something might be there, right? Something may be manipulating these pieces of equipment, but then that just, leads into, okay, time to communicate more, right? And, I look at it kind of like fishing, right? You putting different bait out to see what you catch, but then after that, you got to go beyond those just pieces of equipment, like you said, the lights and beeping.
Yeah, and kind of thinking along this line, we've done, I think, like three videos from White Hill Mansion, and I think the coolest thing is when you have two pieces of equipment that work completely different but have them correlate to prove intelligence. So like we were up in the bloody bathroom, they call it, and we had the Ovulus on, which is obviously it's a word bank, word database.
Mm-hmm.
And you ever see the candle?
Yeah, the EMF candle.
Yeah. So we have the EMF candle on, and we have the Ovulus on, and Nick is sitting in the bathtub, and I'm kind of like sitting on the opposite side, and we're asking questions, and we're getting like some K2 hits and all that, and we're like, all right, that's kind of interesting. We're like, it's kind of a high K2 hit to be having in this abandoned bathroom. Then the Ovulus says candle, and we're like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Like, yeah, that's a candle.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said that, the candle goes out.
Oh.
So two completely different things, and then just showing intelligence, saying like, okay, yeah, look at the candle, that's a candle. Then the candle goes out. Mm-hmm. So those kind of things happening is like probably my favorite when it comes to using equipment.
For sure. Yeah, that validation.
Yep. Well, we got some of that last weekend with, the spirit box going off, along with, some EMF stuff that was really cool.
Yep.
Or when you have like a music box like pinned, and you're like, okay, like, can you step away? And then it immediately stops.
Yep.
You're like, all right, like step back in front of it, and then it keeps going.
Yep.
Like, okay, we're now proving like intelligence here. So that's kind of like, the grade, the A+ evidence, I would say.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah. Military Museum. Our latest episode that was on PARAFlixx, Gina felt like it was maybe an 8-year-old kid and loved the music box. Just loved it, and was using the music box to communicate most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's way cool when you can get that and you're like, okay, step away, and then it stops. Ask a question, it starts going off, and okay, step away. Yeah. Coolest stuff.
Yeah, that's always really cool.
Bucket list place, somewhere you haven't been, you really want to go.
Goldfield Hotel.
Goldfield in Goldfield, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yep, cool place.
Yeah, I know you guys are close to that. That's going to be a bit of a travel for us, but we definitely want to get onto the West Coast. Another place would probably be the oh man, it's in Kansas. The Garnett House.
Yeah, the guy that owned that had Whiteface House. He's getting
Yep.
ready to sell the Whiteface House. We did Whiteface House.
Hmm.
Garnet House Hotel definitely does look like it'd be a cool place.
And doesn't he own? Does he have anything to do with the Sally House?
No, that's someone else.
I thought he had 3, right? Whiteface, Garnett, and I could have
Not-
swore it was Sally House.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Uh-uh. Yeah, Garnet is pretty cool. Like there was some pretty famous Old West people, Wyatt Earp and some of them that have been there. Jesse James.
Now, here's something that I've kind of noticed, and I've never had a West Coast investigation, but you guys kind of, our history out here on the East Coast is very war-centric. We get a lot of like Civil War, Revolutionary War, that kind of stuff. But you guys have like that Western haunting.
Yeah,
and it just seems like the Western haunting is different. Like it can be a little more, I don't want to say malevolent, but like pushy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's definitely more attitude.
Mhm.
I think is a good way to put it.
I got to investigate in Gettysburg a couple of years, 3 years ago, I think it was. And we had some good stuff going on. We had intelligent responses, like an 18-year-old Confederate soldier who was scared for his life hiding in this basement we were in. And
Mhm.
nothing that was real pushy. I feel out on the battlefields was definitely more residual stuff. We spent most of the night out there, you know, cannon fire and hearing people over hills that you were just on around, and bugle came around the corner and sitting by this big open field and hear a bugle. I was like, this is amazing. Out here, you know, we get like old brothels.
Mhm.
We had like a sassy female that was probably like a madam's like, you ask a lot of questions. Well, yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, that is my job. That's why I'm here.
We're trying to communicate with you and, you know, learn about you. And yeah, she got really mouthy, and we've had some stuff that's been pretty, I guess it is a little different now that we get someone that's kind of talking about that. We do get the ones that are a little more
gruff
and yeah,
it's like that old like cowboy haunting is like probably my easiest way to explain it. We have a lot of asylums, sanatoriums, all that kind of stuff, but you guys have like that old Western like
saloon,
cowboy, and like that's the stuff I want to go do, and that's why the Goldfield is probably my bucket list location. There, Queen Mary. That'd be really cool to see.
Yep.
And
yeah, we've got the Knights of Pythias out here in Cheyenne. I'm a member, so you know that's kind of our playground, and it's taken over a year now for a spirit in the billiard room to accept Aaron. He would only talk to members. Yeah. But what was it, about a month ago now? Aaron and Gina actually started getting responses on their own, which is really cool.
Yeah, you know, and I was going up there quite a while. Like Jason and his friend go up there almost every weekend, and we'll hang out, or they'll do like a little investigation of the building. And I'd go up some weekends and start asking questions and stuff. And in that front billiard room, I'd get nothing. They'd ask, and boy, stuff would be beeping and buzzing and going off. And finally, at our last event, Gina went in and started asking some questions. Got a reply. It was I think it was our Ghost Hunting 101 actually with the kids.
It was. Yep.
Yeah. And then I asked something and finally got a response. And I was super happy. Like, I'm like, this has been, and it's almost been a year now.
Yeah.
But yeah, those member organizations,
to you for not giving up on that.
Those member organizations where it was like, that was their life. You know, if they weren't at home and they weren't working, they'd put their time in there. And, you know, you have to be a member. And that's really what I felt. And I kept saying that too. I'm like, really feel like it's like an old member who probably died in like the 50s. And to me, he seems older, probably like in his 60s or something. And yeah, finally got a response. And yeah, I wasn't giving up. Like,
Yep.
sooner or later, you're going to do something or kick me out of here, you know?
Yep.
So
What's the location? It's like a Western kind of haunting. I know Ghost Adventures was there, and in the episode there was like a carriage or something, and Aaron climbed under it, and it like grabbed him or something. I'm forgetting the name of the location.
the only place I could think of a carriage would be Tombstone, where they have the Black Mariah in the
Yes,
back.
that one. What is that location?
That's the Birdcage Theater in
Birdcage
Tombstone.
Theater. Okay, yeah, that's another one that I really wanted to do.
Gina and I have done 3 of their group investigations there.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, it used to be really good when we first went. It was a small table of about 8 people. Now they'll shove 30 people into that back room.
Ugh.
And yeah, it's a cool place. Get to Tombstone. That was our go-to spot. Brent, the stepson, was stationed in Tucson. So that was our go-to vacation spot because it was an hour and a half away. He has since got orders to Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that we'll be going to Tombstone as much as we were. And I'm really bummed out.
Yeah, does it seem like it's become more like touristy now?
It's definitely become a little more commercialized for them.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to go and look what the price is, but I want to say it's $20 a person, maybe 25.
Yeah.
And they do 2 of those a night and they'll be full.
Can you privately rent it out anymore?
I hadn't looked at that because they're doing those 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But boy, if you could, I'd be interested in it. If you guys wanted to come out this way, we could probably make something of that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And I think there's a lot of like in Tombstone, there's like a bunch of different places that are all kind of like near each other.
So Allen Street used to be about 12 blocks long, and now the Allen Street, which is the touristy area, is 3 blocks.
Wow.
But it's the buildings on there, they had a couple different fires, but they're still 1800 buildings from the 1800s. And yeah, I think they did a Paracon there for a couple of years and they stopped this year. But I think they at one point had 26 locations.
Wow.
Just walking into some of those, you can tell that there's stuff going on. Their courthouse is from the 1800s. And we finally went through that the last time we were there. The top floor, like 3/4 of the building, is the courtroom, and just like you can sit in there and feel, the stuff going on there.
I like how they dress up like the time period too.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It's and they just walk around and do that. I would totally do that. I'm an Old West junkie, and I'd totally just do that and walk around.
Yeah,
if I'm here, I'm wanting to walk around with like a whiskey,
right,
and like my cowboy hat and everything. Like I already got the mustache going, and I'm like,
right,
like I'll see her and I'll just like tip my hat to her like that.
Fully immersed, man.
Yep.
Did it say down there what they were running?
Yeah, it's $40 a person now.
Oh yeah, see, and they'll fill 30 slots or whatever to fill the backstage now.
It doesn't say anything about privates.
No, I didn't see anything about private.
Because I was wondering that because like just from being from like the content creator space, I haven't really seen a video lately from there of like someone like renting it out.
That's what makes me think that they almost don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. Maybe we can like say like, hey, PARAFlixx, like
do a collab and
yep. No, that'd be great.
Get me out to Arizona.
We gotta get you up here to Wyoming first.
Yeah. I want to go out there and what's the real big animal you have out there?
Sasquatch?
No, not
Hi, Jason.
I almost made Sasquatch people and Bigfoot people really mad by what I was going to say. But
bison?
Yeah, bison. I want to see one of them.
Oh, we have a bison ranch right here at the border of Colorado.
Yeah,
there's hundreds.
Like the biggest animal we got here is probably like Black Bear, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Our YouTube channel, we have about an 8.5 minute episode, little short of Terry Bison Ranch. Go check that
I'll
out.
have to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool
Pretty cool.
place.
Teddy Roosevelt was out here and stayed at the house there, did some business there. Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I've only been out there one time. I was in Nick and I actually went to Las Vegas. So that's kind of the only place I've been to out west.
Okay.
Did you do the museum?
No, this was years ago. We went when we weren't even like 18. So we couldn't do anything out there. We went out there for a monster truck show when they used to have the World Finals out there at
Nice.
Stadium in Las Vegas. Yeah. And we weren't even old enough to rent a car, so we were taking they didn't have Uber at that time, so it was just taxis.
Taxis and the bus. Yep.
The taxis ran us dry pretty much on price.
Man, yeah, the old school Vegas, those taxi drivers used to rip you off like crazy.
Take you so far out of the way. Yeah.
It'd be like $60 to go from the airport to a hotel. You know?
And the worst part about it is they have like what you're gonna pay like on the meter rolling, so it's like you get to watch like your money going away. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Gina, Miami Cruise Port, just to say that one, they did the same thing. Like, hey, we want to go to this restaurant, which is like right across the way from the cruise port. And he's trying to take us one like to South Beach. And I'm like, no, it's right over here.
Yeah.
Like, you just run up the meter.
Oh, no.
I've heard the thing to do now is fire up Google Maps and make sure, or Apple Maps, and turn the volume up all the way so they know you're tracking it. And then I hear that's like the little trick to making sure you don't get ripped off, is that they know you're tracking the ride.
Yeah, they had us go into a totally different one. I'm like, no, it's just like right. You can almost see it. So
that's why I love Uber.
Yeah.
Yep.
Easy. Yep.
Well, Ryan, it's been great having you on tonight.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. I always like doing this kind of stuff. You guys are great. It's a good time.
Anything that you have dropping at any point, let us know. We'll get it on the Paranomalies page. We'll get it on the Way Out West page.
Yeah, so we're going to be May 3rd. We are going to be at the White Hill Mansion Paracon. We'll be there. Heather and Katrina, they're going to be there. A lot of people from PARAFlixx. So that's going to be a really cool one. That's out in New Jersey. So if anyone watching is close to there, definitely come check that out. It's only $10. Goes right to the White Hill Mansion. So it's a good cause.
Very cool.
And then our next video should be our video with Ryan Buell of Paranormal State and the Warren Occult Museum at the West Virginia State Penitentiary.
Heck yeah.
That's going to be awesome because I know Ryan was very close with Lorraine Warren.
Yes.
Yep. So, boy, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about you guys investigating with that. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I already have like this really cool idea of like how to start out the video. Like, you remember like on the old school like Paranormal State where like the camera like pans to Ryan and he's talking into the recorder. So I kind of like want to start the video off where it's like looking at the recorder and it's just panning up and it's him like, I'll talk.
That'd be awesome. Do a little tribute to that. Cool. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyone watching, go catch those Paranormal State episodes.
Oh yeah.
You can see them on like Prime and some of those others.
Yep.
Ryan was really cool, and Chip Coffey was on there, and Lorraine Warren, and
Katrina and Heather. That's
Katrina
where they started
and Heather Taddy. Yeah. Yep.
And it's actually really cool because the Paracon is a week before that. So I'll be with Heather and Katrina there. So I'll make sure to tell them like, I'm gonna be with like Ryan next weekend doing this. So it's cool. I remember like, not to make them feel old, but I remember watching them when I was a kid. So I told Ryan that like I met Ryan at the Warren Paracon. I'm like, yeah, I remember watching you as a kid. He's like, please don't say that.
Nice. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you again for coming on tonight, and we'll
thank
stay
you,
in
guys.
touch. And we're going to throw you into the green room, and we'll catch up with you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Another great episode. Every
Yep.
week I say that, but
Yep.
it is. It's been great talking to all these people. You know, it's been just over 6 months that we've started this. We're
God, it's
booked
been
out
that
through
long
June.
already. Yep.
People have hit us up. Hey, we hear about you guys. We want to get on. We want you on. We want everyone on. We want to talk to everybody.
We'll talk
You know,
ghosts with everybody. Yep.
We'll talk ghosts. I'm learning more about Sasquatch. I
Yep.
mean, all these squatchy people, you know, and we haven't had an
Some of the
alien person
cryptid
on,
stuff.
but I'm down, you know.
Yep.
Ryan with Paranormal Theory, another great person. You know, I hope
Yep.
he gets out this way or we get back that way and we
Great
can
content.
investigate with them. Watching him and Nick, I really think our investigation styles are close to each other and it
Yep.
would be a good time.
Yep. When I started watching it, I had a lot of respect for them, how they carry themselves, how they perform the investigations. You can tell they take it very seriously, but they
Yeah.
also have a lot of respect for the spirits that are there. So,
Right. Well, you know, just like us, you know, I saw somewhere they're laughing and have a good time too. So
yep.
just go in and enjoy yourself. And that's when you're going to get the best stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
So catch them on YouTube, Paranormal Theory, and catch their a couple episodes on PARAFlixx, where you can also see our stuff. Subscribe to PARAFlixx. Use that WOW 25 discount to get 25% off your first year. And we really appreciate y'all watching us.
Yep. Absolutely. And we'll keep doing it because we love it. So,
Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
See you next week, everyone.
The Paranomalies podcast would like to thank Horn Paranormal Research and Twinkle Twinkle Little Store for sponsoring our show. If you're craving more paranormal content, don't forget to check out our YouTube and Facebook channels at Way Out West Paranormal. On YouTube, we bring you investigations and all sorts of chilling adventures involving the Way Out West crew. On Facebook, you can join our growing community of fellow paranormal lovers for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more. You can catch all of our episodes of Paranomalies available on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as it helps others find the show and join in on the paranormal fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay safe, and remember, the truth is out there, and it just might be closer than you think.